And we're joined by Brad Fay, taking some time out of his duties at Rogers Sportsnet. You'll be in Kelowna to be the MC for this year's Hoopla. Do you think you're up to this test, Brad?
Yeah, well, I think it's a perfect place for it. At least the combining basketball. There's a bunch of guys I've heard from that have said, "I can't believe I'm paying $50 to hear you speak," because I heard all your stories at 2 a.m. a lot of times for free. But yeah, these kind of things are fun, and especially involving basketball, which is sort of my sport growing up, and now I work a lot with the Raptors and everything. So it's fun. Looking forward to seeing some familiar faces as well.
Right. So this is a really unique situation for basketball in Kelowna. Two things really amazing about it. One is that the Okanagan, the Coyotes only exist because there's a local realtor with a basketball background who said, "Hey, I'm going to start a team up, and can they compete under your name?" And secondly, that it's being done without any funding. And also, they have no gymnasium of their own in their hometown. What do you think? Does that even seem possible to you?
It's interesting, only because I had a little experience with that. The 1 year I played in Calgary for 3 years, but I played 1 year at Okanagan College in Vancouver, and they had no gym as well. So we used a high school gym, and it was a matter of just making things work where you can and scheduling that. And I admire, Dino Genie a lot. He, building that from scratch and doing what he's doing. Obviously, the passion is there for the sport. So it's great, whatever it takes. And then maybe this kind of thing leads to a permanent location eventually, and the building of a program.
Yeah, they are close to that, I'm told. So it's interesting. You had some lived experience with playing in a school gym for a college team. What school did you end up playing at?
That was Capilano College on the North Shore of Vancouver. And then I went to Mount Royal College in Calgary, which incidentally, Dino Genie had played before I was there. I didn't make that connection until many years later because we didn't overlap. But then that was a complete, that's like going from what's the situation now with that Coyotes and going to the Okanagan University campus. It was a big step up, and but the team was just as good at the Capilano setup. So really, it's it's a matter of making things work with what you got. But it's sure nice to have your own facilities and own setup within the school eventually.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're aware, but the women's team from Kelowna went to play for a national championship. So despite this lack of funding and a real home gym, there's been some great early success.
And that's fantastic, and that doesn't surprise me, given that I know kids come from all over to play for these teams, but the local scene in Kelowna has always been very strong, basketball and volleyball as well. So when I heard that, I thought, wow, good on them early in the tenure of the school. But also, it didn't surprise me given the talent that we've seen come through, especially at schools like Kelowna Secondary.
Right. You're this national sports guy now, but basketball really is your fave, isn't it? It's the one that sort of
for sure. Yeah. The one I played, and now the one that I've covered, been doing the Raptors for about the last 6 years, I guess. Maybe this is year 7. And then years back in the early days of Sportsnet, I did both the Grizzlies. There's the Grizzlies, may they rest in peace, but and the Raptors as well back then. So I've always had a link. And I think part of it was when Sportsnet started, a lot of guys didn't know basketball and hadn't, the older, they use that term, but the older sportscasters never had to cover it. So I came straight out of a background with it, and they just kind of said, "You take it, nobody cares about it." And then it's grown into where it is now. It's the Raptors in particular are one of the most popular franchises in the country.
Yeah, there is something about basketball, out of all these sports, when you pack all those people into a little gym and you just feel it, right? The excitement level that can happen when the circumstances are right is just unparalleled.
And the energy, I think, is great. I think the biggest thing that ties in with exactly what you said is the next generation, like my kids who are just into their teens, their attention span, this generation is not as high. It's just the way it works. And basketball, something happens every 20 seconds. The team has the ball. You get to cheer whether they make or miss, and then vice versa when the other team gets the ball back. You're not sitting around waiting for something to happen. Every single possession is like a mini drama almost. So I think that's part of the reason with the popularity. But you talk about the energy, as you say, packed into a gym. It's the one sport you can still get close to the players. They don't have a helmet or mask on, so you get to really see their personalities and everything. And I think that is something that speaks to the popularity of it for sure.
Right. And here we are at a time when Canadian basketball is really starting to emerge. We see our national teams that are entering the highest echelons now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's exciting. The women are, just like in soccer, are ahead of the men, but the men are right on their heels, and used to be a big deal in the NBA before Steve Nash came along and broke the mold entirely. It was, if you had one or two guys in the NBA from Canada, that was a big deal, and then you'd fill the roster with university players. Now they end up having to cut guys from the NBA from the national team because there's so many. Outside of Americans, the Canadians are the most represented in the NBA worldwide, which is incredible.
Right. Well, anyway, Brad, on behalf of everyone here in Kelowna, I want to thank you for coming back to town and giving some life to this Hoopla event, and hopefully we'll see you there.
All right. Can't wait. Thanks, Ken.
Thanks. Bye-bye.